Good morning children, welcome to Beula Online Education. In this video we will have a discussion about plant anatomy which is included in the SCRT syllabus for class 10. I am sure that this video will be really helpful to have a self preparation and also will be very supportive to prepare towards your board exam. This video is actually the continuation of plant anatomy what you have learned in standard 9. And in 9th standard, you children have learned about various kind of tissues present in the plants. That is a parenchyma, a collenchyma, and a sclerenchyma, and the complex tissues like a xylem and the phloem. And in this chapter, we will have a discussion about various type of, not the tissues, but the tissue system and the anatomical structure of root, stem, and the leaf. And now, what is plant anatomy? So in the first page, this lesson starts with an introduction. Plant anatomy is the branch of biological science that deals with the study of internal structure or the internal organization of a plant is called plant anatomy. Anatomy is the common term that we use to study or to learn about botany and zoology. But plant anatomically typically deals with the study of the internal structure of the plants. And the human anatomy deals about the study of the internal structure of the human being. But here we are going to discuss only about the plant anatomy. And the plant anatomy is derived from the Greek word that is ana means as under and ta means to cut. So what is as under and to cut? Whenever you want to learn about the anatomical structure or internal structure of the plant, we cannot learn or it is not possible to learn through the naked eye. We have to magnify. To get magnified, we need a microscope. So keeping under the microscope, we will know about the structure of the plant or that is a root or a stem or a leaf. So anatomy is derived from the Greek word ana is as under and ta mean to cut, and anatomy is the study of internal structure of the plants. And already you have got more idea about a plant anatomy. You have learned in 9th standard. We have discussed about various kind of tissues, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, xylem and the phloem, and various type of parenchyma and the collenchyma and the components present in xylem and the phloem we have discussed. And today we are going to have a discussion about the tissues. Children, already you know what is a tissue. Maybe in the 7th standard and 8th standard you have learned about a tissue. A group of cells combine to form a tissue. So the tissue or the group of cells, and that cells the tissue will be and the cells will be of similar or it may be a dissimilar in structure and origin, but functionally a tissue is similar. Only in structure and origin they may be similar or may not be similar, but in function the tissue is similar. And plants having these tissues can be broadly divided into two important types. One is a meristematic tissue and other is a permanent tissue. So we are not going to have much discussion about what is a meristematic tissue and what is a permanent tissue because already you have learned in class 9. And just for your reference, what is a meristematic tissue? It's a group of immature cells that are capable of undergoing cell division is called a meristematic tissue. And about different types of meristem also you have learned, an apical meristem, an intercalary meristem and the lateral meristem. And the second type of tissue is called a permanent tissue. And what is a permanent tissue? The tissues in which the organ has stopped or the growth has stopped either completely or time being is called a permanent tissue. So these two tissues already in 9th standard you have learned. And now we will just enter into the topic now about a tissue system. Very important. It's called as an Sachs 3 tissue system. So Sachs in the year of 1875 classified the tissue system into 3 important types. And the first one is the dermal tissue. The dermal tissue is also called as an epidermal tissue. The second type of tissue is a ground tissue, and the third important tissue is called as a vascular tissue. And what is a dermal tissue? That is, dermal tissue is also called as an epidermal tissue. So the outermost covering of a root or a stem or a leaf is usually called as a dermal tissue. So the dermal tissue consists of epidermis. Epi is above, hypo is below, and dermis is the layer. Epidermis is the protective layer, that is outer covering, and hypodermis is the layer present below the epidermis. The dermal tissue, it consists of epidermis. The outermost covering is called epidermis. Under stomata, and epidermal outgrowths are seen. And what is an epidermis? It is the outermost layer, and it is only in the epidermis you can see the minute pores are present. The minute pores are called as stomata. And what is a stomata? The minute pores present on the leaf is usually called as a stomata. And the main important function of stomata is it regulates gases exchange between the plant and the environment, and also control of water loss by changing the size of stomatal pore present in the stomata. And the second important thing you have to know is about a cuticle. And what is a cuticle? A cuticle is a waxy substance or a waxy coating present above the epidermis is usually called as a cuticle. The cuticle is present on the outer wall of epidermis, and the main important function of the cuticle is to prevent the water loss in a plant, that is evaporation process and the transpiration process. That is the main important function of the cuticle. And in addition to the stomata and the cuticle, trichomes are present. The trichomes are the appendages or outgrowth on the plant is called as trichomes, and the trichomes will be defective in function. That is the main important of the trichomes. And the root hair is mainly involved in absorption. And next is about the functions of the various organs included under the dermal or the epidermal layer. So epidermis is the outermost covering, and the main important function is protective in function. It protects the inner tissues. And stomata are the minute opening present. It is helpful in transpiration. And root hairs are helpful in absorption of water and the mineral salts. These are the points you have to keep in mind regarding the dermal or the epidermal tissue system. And second important type of system is called as a ground tissue system. All the tissues of the plant except the epidermis, that is the outermost covering, and the innermost layer, that is the vascular tissue, are included under the second type of tissue called as a ground tissue. This ground tissue usually includes as cortex, endodermis, pericycle and pith. And what is cortex and what is endodermis and what is pericycle and what is pith? Now we are not going to enter very deeply into the cortex, endodermis, pericycle and the pith. And when you learn about a root anatomy or a stem anatomy, you will be discussing about this cortex, endodermis, pericycle and the pith. But in general, the ground tissue includes all the tissues of the plant except the epidermis, because epidermis already we have brought under the separate heading, that is a dermal or the epidermal layer, and it is only in the epidermis stomata is present, cuticle is present, and also trichomes and root hairs are present. And ground tissue includes cortex, endodermis, pericycle and pith, which we will be discussing in root and the stem anatomy. And coming for the third important type of tissue is called as a vascular tissue system. Vascular tissue system. Vascular system includes the main important function of the vascular tissue is conductive in function. The vascular tissue system consists of xylem and the phloem. And the xylem and the phloem will be always arranged, or they will be organized, or they will be present in the form of a bundle. And the bundle is commonly called as vascular bundles. The vascular bundles includes xylem and the phloem, which are the conductive tissue present in the plant. Xylem, the main important function is to conduct water, and the phloem, the main important function is to conduct minerals to different parts of the plant. That is the main important function of xylem and the phloem. So xylem to conduct water and the minerals, and the phloem to conduct food materials to different parts of the plant. This already I discussed under the complex tissue in 9th standard. And now based on the bundle in which the xylem and the phloem are arranged, there are three different types of vascular bundles are seen in a plant. First one is a radial bundle, second type is called conjoined bundle, and the third one is concentric bundle. So children, it looks like for about a page the points are given. But if you just understand the diagram given in the next page, I am sure that you will be able to write the answer for this question very easily. And this diagram can also be asked for the exam. And now what is a radial arrangement? This is xylem, this is phloem labeled in the diagram. The xylem and the phloem are present or they are arranged in different radii or alternating with each other is called radial bundles. What is the meaning of the word radial? Arranged like a ray. You know how a ray is arranged, deviating from the main point, the center, the rays will be usually arranged. The same way, this is the main point, and from this you can see xylem and the phloem are arranged like a ray, radiating outside. This is called radial arrangement. Example, in most of the monocot and dicot root, this radial type of arrangement is seen. The second important type is called conjoint. But here on the whole a diagram is represented here. But what is a conjoint here? Xylem in one and phloem lie on the same radius. They are called conjoint vascular bundle. If the xylem and the phloem are arranged or lying on the same radius, then it is called conjoint vascular bundle. This conjoint vascular bundle is of two important types. One is collateral, the other one is called bicollateral. This is the diagram. You can see the arrangement of vascular bundle in the form of a conjoint. That is xylem and the phloem lying on the same radius. And it is of two important types. One is collateral and the other one is bicollateral. So what is collateral and what is bicollateral? Xylem will be arranged or the xylem will be present or xylem lies towards the center and the phloem lies towards the periphery, that is outer. If xylem is present towards the center and phloem facing outside, this mode of arrangement is called collateral vascular bundle. Sometimes a cambium tissue may be present. What is a cambium tissue? Cambium is a type of tissue present in the plant which undergoes the secondary growth. If a plant undergoes the secondary growth, it means that cambium is present. In between xylem and the phloem, if a cambium is present, it is called open vascular bundle. And the second type we will have a discussion about bicollateral. So what is collateral? I told you earlier. That is xylem will be present towards the center and phloem facing outside is called collateral. And what is bicollateral? Now the phloem will be here. You can see an outer phloem and an inner phloem. Phloem is present on both the sides. That is in bicollateral. The phloem is present on both outer and the inner side of the xylem. Xylem is present in the center and outside the xylem, and also inner you can find the phloem is present. It is called bicollateral. Example, Cucurbitaceae or Cucurbita is an example. It's a family wherein almost all the snake garden and different types of plants are included. That is called bicollateral. And the third important type will be concentric vascular bundle. And what is concentric? Vascular, it's a type of vascular bundle arrangement in which xylem completely surrounds the phloem or phloem completely surrounds the xylem. These two diagrams you can just take as an example. Either phloem will be present inside and the xylem outside, or vice versa. It is called concentric vascular bundle. Concentric vascular bundle is a common term which is used to describe, that is, arrangement of a xylem. Either xylem is completely surrounded by a phloem or a phloem is completely surrounded by a xylem. It is called by the name concentric bundle. Based on what is present inside, or what covers what? It is of two important types. One is amphi-vessel and other one is amphicribal. And what is amphi-vessel and what is amphicribal? In amphi-vessel, you can see that is xylem surrounds phloem. See this diagram, children? Phloem is present inside, or the phloem is surrounded by xylem. That is called amphi-vessel. Xylem surrounds the phloem. This mode of arrangement is called amphi-vessel. Example, Dracena. And in case of amphicribal, phloem surrounds the xylem. That is, here xylem is inside amphicribal. In this diagram, phloem is inside, that is amphi-vessel. These are the various type of rearrangement of the vascular bundles. And the next one is about endar and what is exar. You have two type of phloem and xylem here. One is protoxylem, the other one is called metaxylem. The early formed xylem or the smaller xylem are called protoxylem, and the later formed xylem or the bigger xylem are called as a metaxylem. In endar, protoxylem, that is smaller xylem, will be lying towards the center and metaxylem lie towards the periphery, that is outside, is called as an endar. Example, stem. And regarding this we will have a discussion in the next video. Maybe the anatomical structure of a stem we will discuss. We will come to know about what is exarch and what is endar. But an outline about endar and exarch. Endar, protoxylem lying towards the center and metaxylem lying towards the periphery. And whereas in case of exarch, protoxylem is towards the periphery and metaxylem lying towards the centrum is called as an exarch. So these are the various types by which the vascular bundles are usually arranged. It is of three important types: radial, conjoint, concentric. And under radial, conjoint and concentric, under the conjoint bundle we have two important types. One is collateral and bicollateral, and concentric vascular bundle of two important types. One is called amphicribal and other one is amphi-vessel, and endarch and exarch is the other type of arrangement of the vascular bundle. Children, you have to have a clear-cut idea about this, because this is basic towards learning the anatomy of a root and a stem and a leaf. And now we will discuss about anatomical or the internal structure of the dicot root as an example. And to learn about the internal structure of dicot root also, if you remember this diagram, I am sure that you will be able to attend this question very easily. And now we will come for the anatomical structure of the dicot root. So that is TS. What is TS? Transverse section of the dicot root. Here example also will be asked. Here in two form the question can be asked in the examination. Describe the internal structure of a dicot root, or describe the structure of a bean root. Then you should know the bean is an example for dicot or for the monocot. And this two diagram also is very important. One will be the ground plan diagram, the other one will be the portion enlarged diagram or a sector enlarged diagram. And now we will just enter into the transverse section of the dicot root, that is bean is given as an example. Now when you just take a transverse section of a dicot root, and if you keep under the microscope and observe, you can observe the following structures. The first one is that epiblema. So transverse section of the dicot root, example bean and epiblema, that is the outermost layer is usually called as an rhizodermis, or it is also called as an piliferous layer, or it is also called as an epiblema. The outermost layer is called as an epiblema, and it is in the epiblema cuticle. What is the cuticle? The outermost waxy coating present above the covering, that is epiblema, is called as a cuticle. Cuticle will not be seen. And stomata are the minute opening present. Cuticle and stomata are absent. So epiblema is the outermost covering and cuticle and stomata is absent, and the root hairs will be unicellular. Children, whenever you draw the diagram and when you observe the diagram, you have to be very careful. And inside this, when the cells are arranged, it becomes a multicellular root hair. But when it's not drawn, it's a unicellular. And in case of bean root, it is unicellular. So cuticle is absent, stomata is absent, and the root cells are unicellular. and it's also called as an, which is also called epiblema, is also called as an rhizodermis, or it's also called as an piliferous layer. And the second organ is called as a cortex. And when you talk about the epiblema, it's the outermost layer, maybe one or two layers you can see. But cortex is multi-layer, largest zone, and it is made up of a thin-walled parenchymatous cells. The parenchyma is a type of a simple tissue with a lot of intercellular space. This is one cell, this is another cell, and between the two cells, the intercellular space is usually present. And the main important function is storage in function. Example, I can tell you children, we have discussed about what is a parenchyma, and we made an attempt to learn in 9th standard about different types of parenchyma. That is parenchyma, storage parenchyma, and ciliate parenchyma, and the chlorenchyma. And out of that we have a very important parenchyma, which is storage in function, will be the storage parenchyma. So here it is made up of a parenchymatous cells. That is main important function is storage in function. So cortex is how many layer? It's a multi-layer. With or without intercellular spaces, the cells are arranged with a lot of intercellular spaces. And here it is made up of what type of cells? A parenchyma cells is present here. And main important function is, that is storage in function, storage of food and the water. And the third important structure organ that you can see is an endodermis. And what is the endodermis is here? That actually it's a continuation of the cortex here. Here you can see children, it's a continuation. The cortex is extend from below the piliferous layer to the last one. You can see the cortex is present. So it is only inside the cortex or in the center of the cortex, endodermis is usually embedded. The innermost layer of the cortex will be the endodermis, and the cells will be a barrel shape, that is in the form of a circular, is called a barrel shape. So barrel shape, they are closely and they are tightly packed, and inner tangent wall called as an Casparin strips is very important short answer. The innermost layer of the cortex will be endodermis, and the cells are barrel shaped cells, and they are closely packed, and then you have a thickening or present. That is tangent walls is called as an thickening is present. It is called Casparin strips. And what is a Casparin strips? A thickening which is present in the endodermis is called as an Casparin strips. And why it is called as an Casparin strips? Because it was found by, or it was named after Casparate, who first noticed the strips in the plant, and that is why it is called as a Casparin strip. And these Casparin strips are absent in the endodermis cell, which are located opposite to protoxylem. Children, I have told you earlier what is protoxylem and what is a metaxylem. The early formed xylem is called protoxylem, and later formed xylem is called as a metaxylem. Now here if you just closely observe this diagram, here it is called as a Casparin strips. But what is the point given in a textbook? These Casparin strips are absent. Where they are absent? In the endodermis cells, where that is opposite to protoxylem. This is actually a protoxylem, and this is a metaxylem. The smaller xylem is called protoxylem, and the bigger xylem is called metaxylem. For your reference, if you want, you can just note down here in the textbook, in the diagram, this is metaxylem, and this will be the protoxylem. So the Casparin strips are a band strip-like structure which is usually present in the endodermis, but opposite to where? That is opposite to the protoxylem. What is absent? The strips are absent, and these are absent, and these are called as passage cells. The place where the Casparin strips are not present, that is called a passage cells, and the main important function of the passage cells is it is helpful in the movement of water or the dissolved salt from the cortex. The root hair will be involved in absorbing the water or the other minerals. The absorbed water will be sent to the cortex, and it is from the cortex, it is only through this layer. Which layer? That is a passage cell. The water will enter into the cell. That is the main important function of the passage cells. So children, here you have two short answers. What are Casparin strips and what are called passage cells? This will be asked in the short hand side. And the fourth important layer is steel. What is a steel? All the tissues which are present inner to the endodermis. All this tissue present inner to the endodermis. And what is an endodermis? I have told you. Innermost layer of the cortex is called as an endodermis. So all the tissue inner to the endodermis will constitute the steel, and the steel usually includes as pericycle, and the vascular bundles are included. And what is a pericycle? That is innermost layer of the endodermis, or inner to the endodermis. And what is an endodermis? Innermost layer of the cortex is endodermis. An innermost layer of the endodermis will be the pericycle. And the pericycle, children, you can see here, the pericycle will be a single layer, and it is the place where lateral roots are arising only from the pericycle. You know what is a lateral roots is? That is the roots that extend horizontally from the primary root, from the radicle is usually called a lateral roots. This is the pericycle. The innermost layer of the endodermis is called as a pericycle. And the vascular bundles. The vascular bundle includes xylem and the phloem, and it is a radial arrangement. It is exarch in nature, and it is tetra. And what is the radial arrangement? That already we have discussed about the radial arrangement of vascular bundle. That is xylem and the phloem are present, and xylem and the phloem in different radii alternating with each other is called radial arrangement. And it is exarch. What is an exarch and what is an endarch? That is protoxylem lying towards the periphery, the smaller xylem lying towards outside, and the metaxylem lying towards the center. It is called exarch. And the number of the xylem will be 4 in number, hence it is called tetra. Radial arrangement, exarch and tetra. This is the arrangement of the vascular bundle. And in between the xylem and the phloem, we have a tissue. This tissue is called conjunctive tissue. Very important general question. In dicot root, it is made up of a parenchyma, a type of a simple tissue. And the last one is about the pith. That is, the central portion is occupied by a large pith is present here, and it consists of thin-walled parenchyma. But in case of the monocot or the dicot root, and when we just discuss about the dicot root, young roots contain pith, whereas in old root, pith is usually absent. So this is the internal structure of the dicot root, where bean is given as an example. So children, now the next question will be very easy. It is not necessary that I have to explain. By seeing the diagram, you will be able to just substitute all the points. And what is the transverse section of monocot root? Here maize is given as an example. And what is first layer is called epiblema. It is the outermost layer of the root. Is also made up of a parenchyma cells. As how the stomata and cuticle are absent in the dicot root, same stomata and the cuticle are absent here, and the main important function of the root hair is absorption of water and the mineral salts, and also that is protective in function. That is the main important function of the epiblema or rhizodermis, which is present in the monocot root, similar to that of the epiblema present in the dicot root also. In cortex also no change. What all the points included under the dicot, the same point you can repeat for the monocot also. That is the cortex. So what is the cortex? Multi-layer zone consists of parenchyma and intercellular space are present. The main function is storage in function. And in endodermis also there is no change. That is, the innermost layer of the cortex is called as an endodermis. Here you can see the presence of Casprin stripes here, and very important, that is the Casprin stripes are band-like thickening. This is made up of a chemical called as a suberin is usually present in the Casprin stripes. And the steel, that is all the tissue present inner to the endodermis is usually called as a steel, which includes pericycle, vascular tissue and the pith, and the pericycle, that is the single layer, and the lateral roots arise only from the pericycle, and the pericycle is the layer which is present inner to the endodermis. You can see the pericycle, a single layer from which the lateral roots usually originate. Now children, you have to observe very carefully. This point is very important. Vascular tissue. When you are discussing about the dicot root, there I told you the arrangement of vascular bundle will be radial arrangement, and exarch in nature and it is tetrarch. But in case of the monocot root, here the vascular bundle is exarch in nature, that is same. And polyarch, there it is tetra, here it is poly, many in number. And also the conjunctive tissue is made up of sclerenchyma. The conjunctive tissue is made up of a parenchyma. These are the common difference that you have to observe. So if you learn the dicot root, the monocot root will be very easy. Only a small change that you have to make is only in the vascular tissue system alone you have to have a comparison and you have to learn, and the diagram also some changes to be made. And what is the pith? That is, it is usually present in the center. It is made up of the parenchyma cells and lot of intercellular spaces is usually present in the monocot root, where maize is given as an example. So these are the anatomical difference between the dicot root and the monocot root given in page number 174 and 175. Children, I hope that you all have got clear idea about Sachs three tissue system and the anatomical structure of root, that is monocot and dicot. And I am sure that if you learn this chapter very thoroughly, your higher secondary first year will be very easy, because the same concept under the same title, that is plant anatomy, is given in your higher secondary first year chapter 9. Thank you children. See you back with the stem and the leaf anatomy in the next video.